What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. Special shout out to my high contributing patrons, Newsome, you rock. Now let's get into today's precon upgrade with Scrappy Survivors. And guys, this deck is kind of split down the middle. It cares about our creatures either being equipped or enchanted, so I kind of thought it'd be a good idea to just gut the deck and get rid of one of the strategies. Either go full bore into the equipment or full bore into the enchantments. You kind of got to choose, because there is cards in this deck like Pure Steel Paladin. Really good for enchantment strategies, but absolutely does nothing for the aura part of the deck. So this deck could suffer from you drawing half of your deck and having a Pure Steel Paladin in hand, but nothing but auras or enchantments to cast. That's just going to create a lot of feels bads. So I decided to cut out all of the equipment, or most of the equipment, and go into an aura enchantment based strategy, and that's just going to be more consistent and make it to where the deck runs as a fine-tuned machine. So if that sounds like a deck tech you want to get into, let's get into it. Right after a word from our sponsors, into the AM. Guys, I'm just really impressed with these shirts. They feel amazing, they fit amazing, and at the end of the day, they look awesome. So if you want to upgrade your wardrobe, you can use code DECKTECH at checkout to get 10% off. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into today's deck tech. Commander Lyra Porter seems perfect in this deck. A lot of the card draw in this deck is impulse card draw, so not only does she reduce the cost of our spells that we're casting from exile whenever we're utilizing that impulse card draw, but additionally she just gives us more impulse card draw. Rocco seemed solid here. Again, a lot of the spells we are casting from exile, so it buffs our creatures up a little bit, which our commander does care about. And then we do have Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, so now we can tap all of those junk tokens for mana, along with some of the other tokens we are generating in the deck. Feldorn is also solid here. Again, there's a lot of impulse draw in the deck already, so now we're netting wolves every time we go ahead and cast something from exile. Eidolon of Blossom, Citizen Champion, and Sithis Harvest Hand. It's just going to give us some solid card advantage whenever we're casting our enchantment spells or whenever they're entering the battlefield. Core Spirit Dancer and Sage's Reverie is going to give us card advantage, judging on if we're casting those aura spells or if we have aura spells attached to our creatures. Elevere of the Wild Court is going to be amazing here. She just enters the battlefield, she starts enchanting everything, giving us card advantage and making our board massive all at the same time. Cutsil, another good card advantage piece in this deck. All of our creatures, or most of our creatures, are going to be enchanted, so the odds that we're getting some card advantage are going to be pretty high, and the fact that people can't cast spells on our turn is just going to be some added security. I'm really enjoying Atali's Favor in decks where you can copy it. We are playing 3-dog in this deck, so the fact that we could copy this for each creature we control is absolutely insane, and then we do have a couple other ways to copy it in the deck, so it's just not a one-off. Sanctum Weaver is going to tap for a ton of mana. I think these value pieces alone really justify going in the aura strategy route instead of the equipment route, just because the deck just does everything when you cast your spells. Archon's going to give you creatures, you get card advantage for just casting your auras that our commander cares about, and then the impulse draw effects just draws you into more low CMC auras and enchantments. This is just going to make the deck work a lot smoother, because whenever you have a lot of impulse draw in the deck, you want a lot of the cards low to the ground, and you want to be able to cast multiple spells a turn. Equipment kind of puts a damper on that just because of the equip cost, right? We'd have to put in a lot of cards that get rid of the equip cost. That way we can spend more time casting the equipment, and that's definitely a route you can take, but like I said, I think the aura and enchantment route is just going to be a little more efficient. Yenna is another way we can copy those aura spells. Ajani's Chosen, Archon of Sun's Grace just make a massive board state. Umbra Mystic is going to make it really hard for them to board wipe us. Then we have some added removal with Darksteel Mutations, Kenris Transformation, Grasp of Fate, and then Winds of Wrath. That is a one-sided board wipe. That does it for all the budget options. That's going to put you at about $18, 20 cards in, 20 cards out. That's going to be pretty solid. You could add Calyx Guided by Fate. That's probably one of the best cards you could add in here, just because he buffs your board state up, he gets bigger, and you're copying those very useful enchantments. So that's definitely a solid non-budget option if you wanted to take this to the next level. Moving on to the cuts, the first thing we're going to take out is 2 lands. I found 36 is kind of the golden ratio for me, especially if you have a ton of card advantage in this deck, which with the aura synergies we add, there is a ton of card advantage in this deck, so we're going to be solid there. The next thing we're going to cut is a ton of the equipment. almost all of it. I kept a little bit that synergized with the commander, but like I said, you either want to go full into the equipment or you either want to go full into the auras and enchantments, and I decided to go the aura and enchantments route. Splitting this deck into two categories, building it with equipment and aura enchantment spells, is just going to create a lot of feel bad moments down the road. Like I said, whenever you have a pure steel paladin in the hand but it's useless because you have a lot of enchantment spells, it's just going to be easier to pick a lane and stick with it. And that's not me saying I don't think equipment is good with this commander. I just think you need to choose one, and I went with enchantments. That being said, our next cut is Pure Steel Paladin. Since we don't have a lot of equipment in the deck anymore, it's an easy cut. Super Mutant Scavenger. This guy's really expensive for what he does, so this guy was also a pretty easy cut. The two bobbleheads are also getting cut here. Again, there is going to be a fun commander to build these around, but I think you're going to want all of them in that deck and not just run one or two. Kate Cage Brawler is kind of in a weird spot in this deck. We have a lot of very low CMC things that we're trying to cast, and we're just trying to enchant all of our creatures, so she doesn't really fit here. Additionally, we are giving our opponents the opportunity to discard a giant spell they can't cast, and then they're just going to get more value out of her than we are. Brotherhood Outcast is actually solid in this deck if you took it in a blink route, which I could definitely see a route you take that just blinks the commander over and over again, getting that ETB, but since we didn't take that route, we're going to cut her from the deck. Commander Sophia, same thing. If we went with a blink strategy, she would be pretty solid, but we don't have a blink strategy, so 4 mana to axe the legendary is not where we want to be. Gunner is just a creature that gets massive whenever you start enchanting it with a lot of auras, but at the end of the day, it's just a massive creature that doesn't give you very much upside, so it's going to be a pretty solid cut here. Squirrel's Nest, kind of the same thing. Kind of feels like it's better for the other commander in the deck since you can untap it with the auras he puts on lands, so this one definitely felt out of place whenever we choose the dog as our commander. This is definitely one of those precons whenever I take a shot at it. I think I'm going to use Preston instead of the dog, just because I think Preston has a lot more synergies with the auras and enchantment things we're trying to do, so I think that's just going to be a more solid deck overall, and additionally he just seems like a little bit more powerful, so I think I'm going to do that whenever I do try to build a full deck from the ground up using one of these commanders. I'm really excited to hear what you guys think about that. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. This brings us to the end of the video. I'd like to take a moment to thank my high contributing patrons, Newsome, Excessum, Chicken Salad, Prater. You guys are amazing. Really keep the channel going. If you guys want to become a part of the Patreon, link in the description down below. You will get a say in the weekly voted deck tech that will give you more say in the deck techs I do on the channel. With that being said, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.